So Anime Adventures just dropped their new Sakamoto Days update a couple hours ago at the time that I'm making this video. Actually, it might not have even been a full day, so I'll say like about 24 hours or so since they dropped it, because it came out at 3 a.m. for me. And the community reception to this update is lukewarm to negative at best. I don't really think a lot of people enjoyed this update, or at least as much as they were hyping it up to be. And you know, from the intro, you might think that I'm gonna hop on the hate train and immediately just call the update shit and overhyped. And although I definitely think people's expectations were set a little bit too high in regards to this type of content, or like this round of content, I think there's a deeper issue here that we need to talk about. That's why I'm titling this video probably something like the problem with this update or something. Just something to grab people's attention. But I honestly think this update was fine. Here's what you got to remember, right? Anime Adventures drops updates in like 0.5 and then the whole number format. Sometimes I think there's been like an odd occasion where they drop a smaller update, but 0.5 updates are supposed to be smaller, so people are satiated until we get a bigger batch of content, which is why this one isn't so content heavy. I think a lot of people have issues with the fact that this update is just hard. Like, doing the contracts is just hard. I was reading some of my YouTube comments. One of the comments was like, oh, all this guy does is whine about difficulty. Like, bro, you just need to be better. Like, why is he whining? Like, I don't think people acknowledge the fact that this update, no matter which way you slice it, is difficult. That is an objective truth. That is an objective statement. This update is hard. Because no one in their right mind is going to sit here farming tier 2 portals for a measly 9 tokens at a time to try and get the new units. At that point, you'd have more fun watching paint dry. But at the same time, no one's going to be able to complete these tier 14 contracts because they're just insanely hard. The starting boss has 1 billion health, and sometimes he has a yellow health bar, meaning you don't even get to deal damage to the actual boss until you deal with that. So unless you have a full unique team of the exact perfect units that benefit the most from whatever element that contract is, you, my friend, are capital F fucked. And there is absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And if you want my personal opinion on it, yeah, this update is just hard for the sake of being hard. And the reason for that is because if you really look at it, there's not that much content. You know, the meat and potatoes of this update is 1 new map, 3 new units, and that's basically it. Because the quality of life changes that we got, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely happy with them. The keybinds, being able to see like what type of stats your unit has by just hovering over them, that's amazing, and I'm not gonna complain about that. But for 5 weeks, like almost 2 months of waiting, this is what we got. And like I said, I don't want this video to come off as like whiny or complainy. I'm really trying, like, this is all leading up to something, don't worry. Back to our topic at hand, the general synopsis for this update was that it was very difficult, not extremely content heavy, and the quality of life changes we received were good but a bit underwhelming for what the community was expecting. Now, here's what I think the real problem with Anime Adventures is. I don't really think the fault lies that deeply within the developers, because they made a trailer, they had an announcement time, they dropped on time. Let's keep in mind that the update had little to no bugs. In fact, I think in terms of bugs, they were nearly flawless. I didn't encounter any bugs. The game ran extremely smoothly, which, although some people might think is the norm, a lot of Roblox games suffer from issues like that. So you gotta learn to appreciate the things like that as well. But I really think the fault lies within the community for why this update is as negatively received as it is, and I'll explain why. The same people that were glazing Anime Adventures, treating it like it was the second coming of Christ, like it was the best Roblox game ever, like it could do no wrong, are the exact same people that are complaining when they get their first real Anime Adventures type update. I've said it once and I'll say it before, a lot of people viewed this game with rose-tinted glasses, and as much as I love this game and I love playing it, and I love fucking getting money from playing it, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that the game is perfect. And it has some very clear faults that have just been part of the game's core design since its inception. Number one, the content is harder than your average tower defense game, and you're not going to be able to solo stuff. Raids, you can barely, like when raids first came out, right? Let's say when the new Demon Slayer raid first came out, if you didn't have uniques, you couldn't solo it. And the same logic, I'm going to apply that same line of reasoning to the new contracts, which are basically just portals. If you don't have multiple uniques that are really good with the specific element that you need for that portal, I don't even think you can solo it. And that's fine. I don't think being able to solo every single piece of content in the game, as long as you have good units, should be the norm, because I'm a firm believer that some type of endgame content for these tower defense games should encourage, you know, multiplayer collaboration. You should try to get more players to play together for these types of events, because it's rewarding and it fosters, I'm not going to say it fosters a sense of community, because like now we're really grasping at straws here. What I'm trying to say is I don't mind if you need people. If it's a team game mode, then it's a team game mode. I don't think that's the end of the world. But the area where I don't really like this update that much is even with a team, right? Like even with a full team of 6, your average team of 6 players, even if they have good units, more often than not are not going to be a tier 14 portal. And I get the fact that AA is a difficult game, but at some point we're going to have to acknowledge that it's hard because there's not that much stuff in the update. And the fact that there's not that many things in the update means that they have to compensate by making it difficult. That's how I see it. That's how I view it. If you disagree, then you're welcome to, you know. The world would be a pretty boring place if we all saw eye to eye. But the way that I personally see it, Anime Adventures has to make these 0.5 updates pretty difficult, because the amount of content that there is, well, it's the lack thereof. There's just not that much there. So if they made the contracts extremely easy and you could do these tier 14 contracts with little to no effort as a solo player, you're going to end up getting all the units that they added pretty damn quickly, and then you're going to end up complaining that there's nothing to do. So although players will definitely be unhappy with the difficulty of the contracts, it was a very conscious game design decision to get people to play longer and to create the illusion of content. Because when people have to grind for something longer, they're going to think that there's actually more stuff to do in the game. In reality, you just spent 8 hours of your life trying to get 3 units from a summon. But back to what I was saying about the community, right? People overhyped this game to the max, and I said that before. I've said it many times. The first time that I said it, no one wanted to believe me. You know, the comments burned me at the stake. People thought that I was just mindlessly glazing anime vanguards, even though, like, that's a whole different spiel about how, like, I always criticize that game. But if you talk bad about Anime Adventures, all of a sudden you're just like a mindless glazer for X game or Y game. But as much as I like Anime Adventures, I'm well aware that the game has issues. And all of the people who were hyping up Anime Adventures and were saying that the game could do no wrong and that the game was going to be peak, I want to know what you say about this update. I promise you, the same people that were glazing this game to the max are the same people that are now complaining that this update is too difficult and it's too this, it's too that. Where are the quality of life changes? I'd like to remind you, Anime Adventures has always been like this. The updates, the content cycle has always been A, very difficult, B, sort of minimal for these 0.5 updates. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that it's definitely less than what a lot of people were hoping for, and that's fine. Why? Because the game has ran like that. That's how they run their game. If you want big updates, you're going to have to wait longer. You're going to have to wait for those full number updates, because that's when they drop the good shit. Not to say that this update wasn't good. Sakamoto Days is a really goated anime. I just got into reading the manga. Holy shit, dude. Sakamoto might be top 3 MCs of all time. Like, he's just a badass assassin, and the only reason he stopped being an assassin was because his wife was going to divorce him. Okay, I'm getting off topic. I recommend reading Sakamoto or watching the anime. Both are extremely, extremely good. What I'm trying to say is, people's judgment for this game was clouded heavily by nostalgia. And when they actually get their first real dose of Anime Adventures, now all of a sudden, you know, shit ain't sweet. People are switching up, and I just find that extremely, extremely funny. Because I honestly don't believe that the problem with this update was the update itself, but more so the community of players who thought they would be getting something different than what they actually would. when they dropped that trailer, right, it looked super cool. People were super hyped. No one, like, it never crossed anyone's mind that the way that you obtained these characters was going to be insanely difficult or hard or just not easy to do. I think I'm getting off topic again. You guys know me. I think I'm getting off topic again. I think I'm getting off topic again, but let me just bring in my closing thoughts, because if I really wanted to, this video could be 30 minutes long of just me discussing this entire update, but I don't think you guys want to hear that. So let me just bring in my closing thoughts for this video. Number one, yes, this update is pretty difficult, all things considered. Anyone who wants to say no is coping. This is a pretty hard update. There's nothing wrong with it being hard. In fact, I've been a firm believer in welcoming difficulty into anime tower defense games, because more often than not, they feel like damage simulators. They don't feel that rewarding. You just get a stronger unit, grind for a bigger damage number, and call it a day. Although this update is hard, and it kind of pisses me off that it's hard because I can't just get everything immediately, deep down, I'm glad that it's difficult. It makes those Sakamoto Days units feel that much more rewarding and that much better to grind for and obtain. But I definitely think that there's a little bit that we can do in terms of the difficulties department, just a little bit. At least buff the amount of, like, little Sakamoto coins that you get from the contracts, because 300 for a tier 14 that most people can't even do seems kind of egregious to me. Also, no unit manager after 5 weeks also made me really, really, really sad. Especially for the amount of game modes that they're adding, right? The contract game mode, which is basically just portals, you need people to do it. You need matchmaking. When you have that many people in a single map, units start to get a little cluttered. This would have been the perfect opportunity to add a unit manager, or the entirety of the winter event or the Halloween event. Both of them, you have a lot of people in one map, things can get a little cluttered. What would be the remedy for that? Unit manager. I don't think anyone is going to complain if they add a unit manager. Yeah, there's going to be the people that are like always at war for tower defense games. Are going to be like, oh, these guys copied anime vanguards. How dare they? Like, bro, like, sure, you might get a one or two people like that, but for every one or two people that complain about unit manager, you're going to have 1,000 more that absolutely love it. Please, please add unit manager. I'm begging you. I'm begging. And I guess the last thing that I want to say is this update doesn't suck as much as people think it does. The people that think it sucks are just the same people that were looking at this game in a way better light than it actually was. They remembered it in a way better state than they thought it was. And when they see the reality, you know, how the game really is, all of a sudden they want to call it shit. And I always had my expectations low for this game, not because I think it's bad, but I'm just a firm believer that if you have low expectations, you'll never be disappointed. And it works for me. Shit, I wasn't disappointed with this update. In fact, I'm happy with it. 3 new units, some quality of life changes, although they weren't exactly the ones that I wanted. We got to take the wins where we can get them. More content to cover. But yeah, I think the lesson for this video, you guys, especially the people that were like hyping this game up to the max before it even dropped, like when they dropped the little trailer with the question marks on it, you guys just need to learn to curb your enthusiasm, because a lot of the things that you're not happy with are very conscious game design choices that are probably here to stay. So in the end, what do I think about this update? Honestly, it was fine. It's a fine update. Sure, definitely would have loved to see unit manager, and I'd appreciate it if they rewarded a little bit more of the new event currency from the contracts. Also, before I end the video, I saw a lot of comments that talked about this, and I guess I'll talk about it here too, because the double standard is pretty comical. When anime vanguards takes 5 weeks to drop an update and people like have to wait, it's just so much more like hateful and vitriolic towards them than when Anime Adventures does it. It's kind of like that meme where it's like, you know, the unspoken Riz versus sexual harassment, and like the unspoken Riz is like someone that's attractive, and sexual harassment is like someone that's not attractive. That's the same way that I view like people glazing Anime Adventures for mistakes. Like, well, not for mistakes, but like people glaze Anime Adventures, right? Even when they do something that's deemed as bad. But when Anime Vanguards does the same thing, the reception is just 10 times more negative because it's not Anime Adventures. I hope that analogy, like, you guys get it. But what I'm trying to say is, Anime Adventures took a decent chunk of time to drop an update that didn't have an insane amount of content. 5 weeks. If Anime Vanguards took 5 weeks to drop an update with 3 units and 1 new portal, and that was it, and like basically little to no quality of life changes, people would be pissed. Like, I promise you, people would be like rioting. The server would have to get locked down, you know, cities will burn, towns will explode, like bad things would happen, right? People would be mad as hell. But when Anime Adventures does it, it's just like, it's cool, it's quirky, it's amazing. You know, why are y'all hating on this game? It's Anime Adventures. Like, you know, I just think that double standard is funny. So, in the end, what do I want to end this video off with? The update isn't as bad as you think it is. You, my friend, just had way too much faith in this game to begin with. And what would I love to see? Unit manager, please, please add unit manager. And also make the contracts a little more rewarding, because even if you do a tier 14, you're only getting 300 of the little currency, which is only 310 summons, and Mythic Pity is 200. Like, I got extremely lucky and I rolled 1 Mythic unit. But a lot of people are going to end up hitting Pity, so forcing them to do that many contracts, even at tier 14, most people can't do tier 14s, by the way. Like, I promise you, your average player is not going to be banging out tier 14 contracts like it's nothing. Like, just make it a little more rewarding. I think that's it from me. I've yapped for way longer than I was supposed to, but I want to put out this video for you guys today, so we're going to call it a video. If you made it till the end, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video. Maybe I messed up somewhere, I don't know. This video was kind of just my raw, unfiltered thoughts about the update. So, yeah, take that as you will. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Stay tuned for more content, and we will catch you in the next one.